Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Cincinnati Business Courier, behind the scenes of a startup. Romance is out, ATVs are in Loveland, and turning 7 dilapidated buildings into one beautiful place to live. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning. Welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Brian Patrick. On the front page, the centerpiece of the Business Courier this week, the triumphs and tragedies of starting a business, looking for their break. We are starting this week. The Courier is embarking on a year-long project to bring you these stories. The first step was inviting the people behind the 7 startups to come into the Courier and pitch their stories. Not just the successful outcome, but a look inside what really goes on when you decide to take a bold move down the entrepreneurial path.
Maybe because there's sort of a misconception, because you only hear half the story typically when it is published. So what you don't hear is what could be most interesting and most helpful to the people that need to read it.
The real meat of this project is going to be what goes on day to day. What does the CEOs think about? What decisions do they have to make? What keeps them up at night? And I think those issues are the ones that are going to make great stories and help the community understand what goes on in our entrepreneurial ecosystem.
All 7 of these companies have fascinating personal and business stories. In the end, we decided to follow 4 of them for the next 12 months. Be sure to read the story to find out who we're following. And remember, this venture is a bit of a startup for us, too. We've never done this before. So as we present it to you, feel free to send input or suggestions to make it better or more interesting. It's a must for the creative startup model. Well, another Cincinnati startup is opening its doors with the hopes of becoming the resident full-service 3D printing company in the Queen City. Virtual Print Labs has 13 3D printers that operate across 4 different 3D printing technologies. The company moved into the Hamilton County Business Center last year. Its machines can print in plastics and resins, make rare and out-of-print replacement parts, and anything else that doesn't require mass manufacturing. It also has a soft spot and a sense of humor.
What we have here for the month of February is a heart gear, which is completely 3-dimensionally printed using the FDM technology, and it's completely moving gear set, which when you rotate through a complete circle transforms back into a heart.
John Helmsdorfer says it's atypical that a city the size of Cincinnati has not had a full-service 3D print shop before now. Well, that recently vacated Pure Romance facility in Loveland has embraced a new suitor. XY Powersports has moved in and plans to expand. The company distributes all-terrain vehicles. It moved from Evendale to the 32,000 square foot space in Loveland so it can assemble the utility and sports model vehicles it makes in addition to distributing them.
Well, there's about 5 or 6 different models, and they're all considered utility. However, some of the models have a dump bed, which would be appropriate for light use to farm use.
XY Powersports added 3 people last month with the move, bolstering its sales force. It now employs 12 and plans to add a few more next year. Well, Mayor John Cranley wants Catholic Health Partners to put a planned 350,000 square foot headquarters in Bond Hill. The city and more than 100 black leaders and business owners are working to get that new facility in the Bond Hill neighborhood. The location would allow CHP to double the size of its current facility here off Interstate 71 near Mount Adams. Cranley declined to say where exactly the site the city wants CHP to consider is located. The Port of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority owns about 50 acres in Bond Hill, including the 25-acre site now named Midpoint Crossing. Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine plans to open an office in Dearborn County, Indiana in June. Beacon has signed a 5-year lease for 3,500 square feet of space in the Dearborn County Hospital Medical Office Building. The Sharonville-based medical group will begin providing sports medicine coverage for Lawrenceburg High School next academic year. With the opening of the Lawrenceburg office, Beacon will have 6 locations throughout Greater Cincinnati. The man who leads Cincinnati's largest accounting firm says there are lots of advantages to being the biggest. Jim Sauer became managing partner of Deloitte Cincinnati last year. Deloitte is by far the largest local accounting firm and also offers consulting services and resources like international tax advising.
So size really does matter because we can make an impact with more organizations, more clients, and in the community.
Sauer lives in Anderson. He joined Deloitte as a partner in 2002. Well, Cincinnati Reds pitcher Homer Daly may need a new accountant. The Reds have agreed to a 6-year, $105 million deal with Bailey. The contract also includes a 7th-year option worth $25 million, which the team can actually buy out for $5 million. This will be the 3rd biggest contract in Reds history.
Obviously, they're happy with it or else they wouldn't make the deal, and obviously we're happy with it or else we wouldn't sign the deal. So I think both sides are very pleased.
It's a commitment that, again, trying to identify players in our organization that we want, that have come up through the organization, that have really developed here and matured into great major league players. We want to try and retain them.
Homer Bailey turns 28 years old May 3rd. He's 49 and 45 during his 7-year major league career, which he has spent entirely with our Cincinnati Reds. Well, there's another new place to live in over the Rhine. The Cincinnati Preservation Association, along with co-developers John Huber Homes and North Point Group, have opened Westphalen Lofts 2, a $6.2 million project. It includes 33 condo units and about 4,000 square feet of commercial space located in the 1400 block of Race Street.
We took 7 buildings essentially and preserved them and turned them into one building by creating connecting hallways. It's challenging because every floor level was different. The buildings were very dilapidated. As we talked earlier, one of them nearly fell down while we were standing in the street one day, and 2 of them were slated for demolition. The one we're sitting in is, in fact. So we were able to salvage this building and repurpose it for residential use. It's fantastic.
The developer worked to keep as many of the unique characteristics as possible. In fact, every fireplace in all 7 buildings was saved. The units are expected to go on sale in March and sell from $90,000 to more than $300,000. Newport Aquarium will be opening a new exhibit next month. Turtle Canyon will feature more than 14 species from 3 continents and will open to the public on March 22nd. In addition to the largest tortoise species in the world, the Galapagos tortoise, the exhibit will feature the smallest in the Northern Hemisphere, the Egyptian tortoise, and all sizes of turtles in between.
We have about 10 species of tortoises and turtles that you'll be able to touch. So we all know kids love to be kids, and kids like me at heart, we like being up close and personal, being able to learn things through touch.
The new exhibit will open in the former rainforest display at the Newport Aquarium. Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch this morning, the parking deal saga continues. We'll tell you about a new development happening tomorrow. And more new development may be coming to this Cincinnati neighborhood. Here's some news you might have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day or following us on Twitter and Facebook. The parking plan is back in the news this week. Xerox will propose an overhaul of Cincinnati's parking system that reportedly allows the city to control rates, hours, enforcement, and capture more revenue than the draft proposed by Mayor John Cranley. Xerox's proposal, contained in documents obtained by the Business Courier, represents a last-ditch effort to preserve some of the business it would have received under the now frozen parking lease plan with the Port of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority. Company representatives are set to appear before City Council's Neighborhoods Committee tomorrow to pitch this idea. The Port Authority is targeting 30 properties in Evanston between Dana Avenue and Madison Road for rehabilitation or new construction. This is the old St. Ledger in the heart of Evanston, which has been torn down and is now being redeveloped. Evanston is one of 14 neighborhoods in Hamilton County where it plans to do neighborhood redevelopment work. The Port and the Hamilton Land Reutilization Corporation have or plan to acquire and renovate about 20 houses and build new homes on 10 vacant parcels. The city of Cincinnati is ready to market an 18-acre former brownfield site in Lower Price Hill to potential manufacturers. The city has signed a development agreement with a company called Resurgence, which has partnered with Al Nair to form Metro West 1. The site is located around 8th Street at the site of the old Queen City barrel plant. The city is finishing the environmental remediation this month and hopes that the site will bring up to 400 jobs and 250,000 square feet of LEED-certified light industrial and service space. A new specialty grocer that has been scouting the Cincinnati market for locations signed a lease for its first store. Fresh Time Farmers Market signed a 10-year lease for the former Circuit City on Alamo Avenue in Oakley. The company will hire 80 to 100 new employees for this location. We're told the Phoenix-based grocery store eventually plans to open 6 stores in the greater Cincinnati market. The Business Courier and the U.S. Green Building Council Cincinnati Regional Chapter have named the finalists in the 2014 Green Business Awards competition. Now here is your chance to pick your favorite. To take part in the Green Business Awards People's Choice Survey, visit our website and click on Green Business Awards. The deadline to choose your favorite is this Friday. You can also register for the awards ceremony on March 6th. Well, in this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, one of our favorite topics, the weather. Yes, there is an economic twist, a big one to the weather. It's been so bad all over the country this winter that it's having an impact on unemployment, retail sales, home construction, just to name a few. U.S. Bank Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager Mike Denneman is with us this week to give us the forecast. The weather has been so bad, Mike, all over the country. I couldn't even get out of Washington, D.C. last week. The government was shut down. 2 days for weather, 1 day for a holiday. Can we assume that all this is going to have a negative impact on the economy?
Sure. It's unavoidable. I mean, if you look at the broader economy, people shop less when the weather's bad. Construction slows down, hiring slows, airlines, railroads, trucking companies all struggle with the snow and ice. And of course, I, everyone else, are paying more to heat our homes during this deep freeze, so those are dollars that aren't able to be spent elsewhere. So you roll all of that together and what you get is a pretty tough couple of months for the economy.
So with economic reports coming out in the weeks and months ahead, are we going to see that in those reports reflected, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's very likely. Let's just start with gross domestic product, or GDP, which is a measure of all the goods and services produced in our nation's economy. At the start of the year, the forecast was that the first quarter could be pretty decent, maybe 4% growth. But now, 2 months in, it's looking like the weather could shave as much as 0.5% or maybe more off of that number. So that's a pretty significant dent. And if you're looking for culprits, there's a lot out there. Retail sales in January fell by the most in almost a year. Housing starts were down significantly. You look across the broad economy and there's really no area that's not been touched by the weather.
The nice thing about a bad winter is we know that spring always comes. It will be coming, hopefully, just around the corner. Can we expect to see any rebound when that happens?
Knock on wood. Let's hope. That's the silver lining. But it looks like this. This is economic activity that's not gone away. It's just been postponed. So, for instance, if you were going to build a house last month but didn't because of the weather, you're still likely going to build that house once the snow melts. Same with, say, buying a new car or expanding your business. So there's going to be this pent-up demand that once the weather improves, hopefully that flows back into the economy and creates a nice economic boost. Really, I think the end result is that this is not economic activity that was lost, but merely delayed. So pushed from first quarter to second quarter. And so we're likely to see the effect of second quarter economic reports being much better than expectation, to the same degree that first quarter reports are coming in worse than expectation.
Yeah, hopefully that would offset, and then the overall year would look better all the way around.
Exactly.
All right, Mike, interesting story. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian.
We appreciate you and U.S. Bank. Still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, some very good news predicted for local job growth. And congratulations to Michael Bronson, another of our 40 Under 40 honorees. He is partner at Voorhees, Sater, Seymour & Pease, LLP. Thank you so much for joining us for U.S. Bank Business Watch. And in this morning's Business Insight, many more Cincinnatians should be back to work this year. Cincinnati's economy should add 10 to 15,000 jobs in the coming year, nearly doubling the growth it achieved last year. That is the view of Stu Hoffman, PNC Financial Services Group, Inc.'s chief economist. Stu Hoffman joins our Business Courier publisher, Jamie Smith, with more on this positive prediction. Jamie and Stu.
Thanks, Brian. Stu, thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
We just heard how the weather affects the economy. Brian just told us how the job outlook is looking good. Talk a little bit more about that here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, PNC, of course, follows Cincinnati very closely. It's one of the many markets we're in. So I'm in town this week and been talking to clients, and we've taken a look at the Cincinnati economy. Last year was a little bit of a laggard, which is typical of Cincinnati. It didn't have as deep a recession. It's had a little slower recovery, but we think the pace will pick up over the course of 2014. I agree with the earlier commentator that right now we've all been frozen out, but hopefully some of these jobs will show up in construction, and 10 to 15,000 jobs. There's just over 1 million people working in the Cincinnati metropolitan area, so that'd be about an increase of 1 to 1.5%. And the unemployment rate here, it's about the national average, just close to 7%. We think as those people go back to work, the rate will fall, probably not all the way to 6%, but 6.25% by the end of this year.
Okay, great. Is there any particular industries that these jobs are coming in, or is it across many of them?
It's across many of them. Clearly, construction is part of it, but in this city, of course, a lot of business service types of jobs, some airline jobs, professional services, medical care is still providing jobs, education, and we think maybe even some state and local government jobs. The last several years, Ohio and the city's been cutting back. They've been under financial strains. That's been true all across the country. But it looks like state and local governments are in better financial health, maybe to hire a few more public safety workers and teachers and put some projects back on the boards that haven't been able to afforded.
And you talked a little bit about construction. Is that residential? Is that commercial? Is it a combination?
Combination.
Okay.
We do think the housing market in the Cincinnati area, finally home prices are rising for the last 6 or 7 quarters. We think they'll be up this year by about 3 or 4%. So more home sales, more remodeling, but also on the commercial side as well. Not much retail, but a little bit of office building and some industrial that's going on as well in this local area.
And does that seem pretty close to what's going on nationally as well on the home building side?
Yes, very, very much what we think is going on. Cincinnati doesn't quite have the energy component. You see a lot of growth going on in other parts of Ohio, the Utica Shale area,
right.
The parts of the country that you don't kind of have that energy shale gas push, but other types of investment, and so that's the one area. I wouldn't say a lot of jobs in energy related, but in construction, manufacturing, and a host of professional and business services.
Yeah, manufacturing continues to be a big player here, and we hope that continues. Yes. All right, we talked about some of the good stuff. Is there anything bad, anything we should be cautious about going into 14?
Well, maybe it'll snow all year long. And, we in the middle of July, we'll have Christmas. But there's always things. A little less out of Washington. You know, we're not going to shut the government down again, where we passed the debt ceiling bill, so I worry a little less about that. You always worry about events in the Middle East that could have an effect on oil prices. We see the global economy, you know, things looking better in Europe. So there's always something to worry about that comes out of the blue. But right now, I'd say that the risks to the economy are balanced. As many sort of positive surprises could occur as negative shocks, and for the last couple of years, the risk have mostly been what can go wrong rather than what can go right. Now I think we have a little of both.
How much of that's hit by local decisions versus, you know, the national economy? I mean, you know, the fact that we just had major shifts in our local government here. Yep. You know, there's a lot of, obviously, with our transportation issues, we're making big changes to the city. Yep. Is that affecting it a lot?
Of course it does. You know, everything has a local dimension to it, but no region's an island. And, you know, if the national economy turns out to be much weaker than we think, that's going to be a drag on Cincinnati and many other places. And if we have some positive surprises at the national level, that would work as as well. So, of course, regional conditions, transportation, your government structure, as I mentioned, state and local, and the nature of your manufacturing. Autos are doing well, and that's a help to Southern Ohio. So, yes, but what is going on locally certainly can make that number 10,000 versus 15,000, but the national trends still are very important to regions like Cincinnati and across the country.
Now, comparing with the region, you're talking about just specifically Ohio, do you see a lot of differences, say, Cincinnati versus Columbus?
Well, the 3 Cs, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus. Cincinnati is sort of in between. Columbus has grown a bit faster and a little steadier with the state government and the university. Cleveland in Northern Ohio has had a help because of the auto industry and the improvement in manufacturing. But they had a much deeper recession in the northern half of the state back in 08 and 09. So the middle tends to be a little steadier. The northern part of the state goes up and down more and now is coming back. Cincinnati is a little bit of a steadier, but it tends to lag. Didn't have the degree, fortunately, of the recession in 08, 09 into 2010. And as I said, it sort of lagged recovery. But maybe this is the year things pick up a little here in Cincinnati. And if not close the gap, you narrow a little bit between this region and the national trends.
Yeah. Now, I know you're based in Pittsburgh with PNC. Obviously, the energy has been tremendous. You know, push to the economy there. Is that going to continue for some time? Do you see that going away, or?
Yeah, we're not here to talk about Pittsburgh, and you know, we won't even talk about sports, let alone the economy. But the Pittsburgh market, jobs are now higher than they were before the recession. Cincinnati has not gotten back. In fact, most metropolitan areas still have a jobs deficit, say, relative to 07. So, yes, energy is an important part, but like here, manufacturing, medical care, it's not all an energy story, but that's a part of Ohio and Western Pennsylvania that's been quite positive in this region.
Oh, great. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome.
And we hope to have you back again sometime.
Look forward to it.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks. Back to you, Brian.
Jamie Smith and Stu Hoffman, what an interesting look at our economic picture here in Cincinnati. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and each Sunday morning, 6:30, right here on Local 12. If you sleep in, you can catch us at 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, just visit our Business Courier website online, sign up for our daily emails, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. The address, CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. For all of us here at U.S. Bank Business Watch, I'm Brian Patrick. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you have a great Sunday and a really good work week.